Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about pull requests. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, when you start finding issues during the second or third round of code reviews when you verify the pull request after your initial comments were addressed, does it frustrate the software engineer who raised the PR? Oh yes, especially if that software developer is me. But it also pisses me off if every change that I ask someone to make results in more issues. This right here, guys, is one of the big reasons why soft skills is important in IT. And the best part is that the HR person doesn't even know that this is why the soft skills are so important, because this thing here is the number one killer of teams in software development. This is nothing outside of this is more important for the mood within the team. Oh, if we now exclude, of course, like external factors that you can't really control, like your managers, etc., etc. But everything that happens within the team, this is the thing that is dangerous. Where people get pissed off in their code reviews, or they have different sets of opinion of how to do things, and they start hating each other because they always feel that it's a frustrating experience to do code reviews. And I'm not gonna lie, this used to be one of the things that pissed me off the most, when I kept on having people who, like, it was just endless. It never stopped. Like, it felt like you could change something and then they were happy with that, but then they found stuff later down that they were also unhappy with, and like they just kept on adding and adding and adding. Today I'm happy to say that I've grown to a point where, because I found that a lot of the frustration went away when I decoupled my sense of identity from the code, and when I realized that this is part of the process. There's no point in being angry with it because it is the process. It's something similar to, I've tried to teach my coworkers. I had that actually the other day. Yesterday, one of my coworkers, he pulled up a pull request where he was trying to create some temporary code in order to make a solution that I know for a fact is not going to help him. It's just that he doesn't actually know how to solve this problem. But the reason why he pulled it out was because he wanted to avoid having to deal with another team who were not so inclined to help him. And so I said to him, no, we can't try to fix, make a workaround in our team just because they don't feel like helping you at this point. You're going to have to talk to them, or more likely you're going to have to go to talk to our manager and have their manager and his and our manager go and talk, so that they can resolve this and we can act like professionals. And of course he says, oh yeah, but I don't really want to do that because that's a lot of noise, etc., etc. And I go, yes, but the problem is when you start getting into the habit of trying to create workarounds, you're trying to avoid the real issue, then you're never gonna we have a problem here. And because we're not addressing it in a sustainable way, we are going to put ourselves in a worse situation. And that's why I want you to do it this way. Now, he wasn't very happy with me over that, but it is, as I've always said, if you're gonna do it, you have to try to do it right first. You can't take the easy route. You should never start with the easy route until you verify that this is probably the only way of doing it. And so when you're dealing with people in the software team in this manner, it is actually very important that you understand that there is a mood to everything that you do. Now, in this situation, he's a little bit in a bit of a pickle because I am the team lead, which means that, my argument is reasonable and he should be doing this sort of thing, right? But I know that this frustrates him because he wanted to do a quick and easy solution. And the issue is when we have that difference in opinion and we can never seem to resolve it. And so what I try to remember is when you're talking about the second or third round of code reviews. This is where I try to make a distinction. If the code that I asked to be changed is now in a good state, I try to be careful with giving too much feedback on things that are irrelevant, if that makes sense. It's all down to the communication, as I said. It's all down to sort of finding that balance between what can you let slide and what is very important for you to go for, to sort of enforce. Now with my coworkers, as I was saying, I could have let that slide, but the problem is that if I had in that situation, it's something that is going to hurt the team long term, and it's also an indicator too that he is actually not as good as he needs to be in order to solve this problem. And I haven't this is still something I'm going to have to deal with. But the reality is that I am at that point in this specific scenario not able to give him the time of day because I have other commitments to set this up for him and help him fix it. But the issue is that when you make mistakes like these and you push them and this is the thing that a lot of software developers don't understand, a lot of people don't understand. We talk about no blame and we talk about being understanding, etc., etc. Yes, this is a good approach, but there's a large amount of people who seem to mistake incompetence and being really bad at what you do, and then being forgiven for that, and sort of like having an idea that there is no such thing as being wrong too often. There is. So if as an example, if I see that after 2 or 3 times of submitting your pull request, you still fuck up the slightest, simplest thing, I'm gonna start getting really pissed off. And it all comes down to the details. If I'm reviewing over and over, and you keep on making these mistakes over and over, I'm gonna get upset. Just as you are probably going to get upset, or depending on who you are, you're going to get really stressed out. But this is nobody's fault, because you are unable to produce the results that I desire. But at the same time, if I'm too critical of you when we're doing this thing, I'm actually nitpicky to the point where you get frustrated. And I've been on both sides of this. I've been really irritated that someone keeps on fucking up the pull request, like they can never really do their job properly. And I've been in a situation where I've been reviewed and I get these tiny, micro, pointless comments over and over and over. This name could be nicer. Okay, what would you like it to be? I don't know. It could just be nicer. That's the worst comment you can possibly give me. You go immediately on my blacklist if you do that. So you give me a comment saying that I should rename something, but you can't think of a better name. Because what? You think that I'm just randomly typing shit out? No, I couldn't either come up with a better name, so shut the fuck up. This is very, very difficult. And so the frustration, I can promise you guys, are on both sides. And it really, as I said, it comes down to who are you? Because you're going to be the one who gets a pull request, and you keep on giving comments, and then you keep on seeing that this person, guys, I've worked with guys where they actually gave up. The person submitted, it was nothing. I mean, I know for a fact that this person is incompetent, to the point where the only reason they work in the company is because at that time the company didn't know how to hire someone. They did not know how to write code at all. Because the reason why they came into my sphere of things was because they didn't have, like, his coworker, who is likely as incompetent as he was. They weren't available, so he had to be reviewed by someone else. And then you could they pushed the same code and said, quote unquote, that it was fixed 5 times. And they didn't even address the thing that I was asking for. And you might think, oh, Frederick, what was this terrible thing that you wanted changed? It was very simple. I wanted, in this case it was TypeScript, I wanted them to change the return type of a function from any to a Boolean. But they didn't understand what I was saying. And they were half across the world, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, it made me so angry. So angry. And the other thing has been true 100 times as well. I've submitted things and gotten tons of these sort of reviews and been frustrated to the point where I get angry thoughts about the pettiness of the person that I'm dealing with. And who can say who is right and who is wrong? Because it's really is a subjective thing. I imagine, because I know for a fact that I have had people who have been really pissed off at me who feel like Fredrik can never get the thing that I want right. This is a very complicated issue. So what I want you to take away from this is that yes, good God, I get pissed off if I find that the same if a person keeps on adding updates to a pull request and they never do a good job, it starts to weigh on you. Definitely it does. And the same thing goes in the reverse. If you keep on getting these these comments over and over and over from no matter how much you do, you seem to never get to the end of the nitpickiness of your coworker. It's also going to piss you off, and that's why soft skills and all of this stuff is so important, and team building and so forth. Because if this game we play, or like this dynamic, doesn't work, it will rot the team. And that is why you have to find ways to communicate about the things that are important to change, so you don't let really dangerous stuff into the code base, but at the same time you have to let some stuff go. Maybe that name they picked wasn't perfect, maybe the function was a little bit too big, etc., etc., but in 100 years is it gonna matter? Yes or no? So it's all about that balancing quality, mindset, and so forth with letting reasonable expectation, etc., etc., on both sides, which is very, very difficult, and in many cases it is difficult to the point where you do get frustrated. It helps, as I said, try to detach your sense of identity from the code and try to get to a point where you see this as just part of the process. As I've said in other videos, guys, there are many ways. In many situations you work in a code base that is really shit, and you could, in theory, of smarter ways of working, better ways of doing things, etc., etc. But this is how it works at this specific company. Just as if you go and work for a company that makes handmade clocks, they all know, everybody in that company knows that you can automate that process and make clocks faster. But that's not what they're selling. They're selling handmade clocks. And so being frustrated over that you have to put the thing together by hand is sort of a stupid thing to get upset over. Have a great day.